Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Life Temple podcast. My name is Donna Politis, and I'm here with Danielle Dow, my partner at the temple, and our special guest, Lorraine Perrons. Lorraine is a rapid transformational therapy therapist, and she practices especially with gambling recovery. And this is really interesting because Lorraine has a history that she'll tell us about. We'll hear from her herself. With a gambling addiction that was in her family that led her to create a career and a service to many other people in terms of dealing with their gambling addiction. Lorraine is a former senior manager in the NHS, and she worked there also during the COVID pandemic, and immersed herself into learning about Marissa Peer's work with rapid transformational therapy training. So she's been inspired and fascinated by this therapy and embarked on this journey to become a therapist with this technique. So we're going to hear about her amazing journey and her amazing story. Lorraine also happens to be a phenomenal person, a very loving and caring person. So her service through this rapid transformational therapy technique towards people, for people with gambling issues, which we'll learn more about, is truly from her heart. And we can't wait to hear more about her story. So Lorraine, welcome.
Thank you, Donna, and what a pleasure to be here with you both. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. Back in the 90s, I got two sons in the approximately 7, 9. I was married, and my father was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, and at the same time we'd got a holiday booked, and we went on a 2-week holiday, and because I was sort of working, I had not seen lots of things like post, mail, etc. So during this downtime, I suddenly started to think, I've not seen a lot of things like mail and stuff. And then on the holiday, there was some race nights, and noticed my husband at the time sort of quite excessively at the race, on the race nights. And then when we got back, discovered that he was a compulsive gambler. Sadly, I also lost my dad at a very similar time, and it was quite difficult for me to deal with. Lots of court cases for financial affairs, etc., because we ended up splitting up for many other reasons beside the gambling. And I went through this journey of being really angry and disbelief and shock. And in the end, I realized that the only person that it was hurting was myself. So I went about this journey of learning about gambling addiction to try and make me understand it and why they do it, and why it has, such a massive impact on families. Fast forward a few years, and I worked in the NHS for many years. And then, as you say, Donna, during the pandemic, I had a bit of time off and thought Marissa Peer kept popping up. So went on to do I did virtual classroom training. And then the very first live to open was not far from where I live in the UK. So then I had live training with Marissa Peer and became a fully qualified therapist last July. And then I saw that people were working with addiction. I was also a member of a Facebook group to support families. So I sort of had a conversation of, could I help gamblers with this rapid transformational therapy, or the families? And then I decided if I helped the gamblers, it would help the families too. And I obviously support them also with meditations and things to help calm the minds of the families who are under this immense stress and anxiety. And the clients I've worked with, the gamblers, which has been worldwide, virtual, online, so they're in the privacy of where their environment, has been just revolutionary for them. lots of things that have come up from the past, rejection. It's made them feel disconnected, and has had some fabulous results, real. And it's really important to say that for somebody with a gambling addiction, the key thing is here, they've got to want to change and come out of the addiction or help manage that 100%. Because if they don't, it won't work. If it's somebody saying you've got to go for therapy and they don't truly want it, you can equip people with the tools, but they've absolutely got to want to do this 100%. And I've seen some real life-changing results. It's been phenomenal.
So it's interesting you say that, because I had two questions come up and you already answered the one, which was how does someone go about getting this help? And like you said, they need to want it first, because that's going to generate the best results. And then you also mentioned the benefits and the results. Can you be more specific? Because that really perked up my ears in terms of what would be some specific results that you've seen in people already.
So a lot of it is rejection. So when they've absolutely had this light bulb moment, they've let go a lot of emotion, real release, outpours during the session. And then afterwards, obviously, we do the follow-ups to check how they're doing. And people that have just been so disconnected, antisocial, have reverted back to pre-gambling, playing sport, connecting with people, having a laugh, feeling this immense release, and they just feel so empowered and they feel amazing. It's really incredible. And with an addiction, sometimes it takes more than one session, up to 3 sessions, because as we always describe it, a bit like an onion. There's layers to take away, but even just with one session, the results have been truly phenomenal. A lot of gamblers feel shame and guilt. We work through all of that, and there was a hypnosis recording that they listened to for 21 days. Well, in my case, I say 28. They listened to that every day because we removed all those negative beliefs and we've installed really powerful ones that are relevant to today. And I always ask them what would they like to hear in the recordings and all the words they'd love to have heard. And the feedback I get from them is truly phenomenal. It's absolutely life-changing. So it's, yes, I feel it's my calling and exactly where I should be in life.
By helping gamblers, you help their families as well, and you help their loved ones. Do you have also services for their loved ones when someone comes to you? I mean, like you said at the beginning, maybe suffering more than your ex-husband, because it was a very emotional process as well. I mean, not to be able to do anything about it, not to be able to help your husband, your ex-husband through quitting gambling. Because again, as you said, you need to really want to quit, or you need to want the change. So if someone doesn't see that or doesn't want that, it's really difficult for anyone in the family or friends or anyone to help that person. So do you also support the families?
Yes, absolutely. So like I said, initially I was concentrated on gamblers, and there's a big thing with stress and anxiety, and I'm now starting to support with that with the families. Again, they've got to want that, because it's almost like a trauma in itself. You're so shocked that somebody has put you in this very fragile financial state, but that they have got to really, you've really got to be in a good place to want the help. And it's interesting because I'm in gambling groups, and they are so, I see it on both sides now. So the gamblers are actually really frightened about telling the families because they're worried about the reaction. And they feel so more empowered, interestingly, when the families say, I've got it, I'll totally support you. But the majority of the scene have just like total disbelief and shock. So it's really good to support them. So I'm now starting to do sort of meditation. Well, I've just put a request out to say what sort of things will help you. What tools can I equip to help you with this? If people wanted those sessions, obviously I can't do the conflict if it was to be the member of the family within that group with a partner. But yes, I'm going to build on that, supporting them, because it's so important.
And another question I wanted to ask you, and how can we support a family, or how can we raise the awareness that they need support?
Yeah, well, I think they're both very vulnerable positions, and they both need a lot of support. Interestingly, I was having a conversation about this while I was away. There's lots of different support groups in different countries, and a lot of these groups are worldwide. It'd be really, and something that I am going to sort of look into further and to seek clarity on, is if somebody comes from a country, people are then commenting from their own country. And I think it would be really helpful to have central resources. And I think a really big thing as well, financial. People don't know where to go for financial help. And that's where they sort of get put their head under the carpet and pretend it's not happening type of thing, and I think they just need a hand-holding process to get them through this, because sometimes people just can't see a solution, and there are solutions out there. And it's just sort of, I think it needs to be more bespoke for each country.
So that kind of leads me to my next question, is if someone is not sure if they do have an addiction, if it's gone out of control, from your experience, what you've seen both personally and professionally, how could you perhaps maybe help the listeners identify whether it's a family member or someone in that position that perhaps isn't recognizing that it's gotten to a stage where it's becoming an addiction, or it already is?